Anthills of the Savannah is a 1987 novel by Nigerian writer Chinua Achebe. It was his fifth novel, first published in the United Kingdom 21 years after Achebe's previous one, A Man of the People, in 1966, and was credited with having revived his reputation in Britain. A finalist for the 1987 Booker Prize for Fiction, Anthills of the Savannah has been described as the most important novel to come out of Africa in the 1980s. Critics praised the novel upon its release. Summary of The Anthills of the Savannah. Anthills of the Savannah is set in the fictional West African nation of Kangan, ruled by a military dictator. The story follows three friends: Sam, the military ruler, head of the state; Chris, Oriko, commissioner for information; Ikem Osodi, journalist and editor who questions the government. They studied together in England, but power changes Sam, turning him into a corrupt and paranoid dictator. Ikem uses his newspaper to speak against injustice, especially the suffering of the people in the drought-stricken region of Abazon, whose chiefs refuse to support Sam's dictatorship. This leads to Ikem's arrest and assassination. Chris tries to save Ikem's pregnant girlfriend Beatrice, who becomes a symbol of hope and voice for the oppressed. Chris himself is killed while fleeing the nation. Sam dies in a coup carried out by his own soldiers. In the end, a naming ceremony for Ikem's unborn child, led by Beatrice, represents renewal, community strength, and the rise of women as leaders. The novel highlights the dangers of failed dictatorship in post-colonial Africa and the importance of truth and resistance against tyranny. Anthills of the Savannah, chapter-wise summary. The novel is narrated through multiple voices: Chris, Ikem, and sometimes Beatrice, reflecting political struggle in the fictional African nation Kangan, ruled by a military dictatorship. Chapter 1. Chris Oriko, Commissioner for Information, introduces the political situation. Sam, His Excellency, former schoolmate, has become a dictator after a military coup. Chris is ordered to manage the crisis in Abazon, a region denied water supply for refusing to support Sam. Chapter 2. Chris visits Ikem Osodi, his friend and a journalist. Ikem criticizes government corruption through his newspaper, the National Gazette. We see tension between truth versus power. Chapter 3. Cabinet meeting reveals Sam's paranoia. He demands propaganda to silence Abazon. Ministers fear challenging him. Chapter 4. Beatrice, senior civil servant and Chris' partner, is introduced. His narrative highlights women's perspectives and emotional insight into politics. Chapter 5. Ikem continues writing bold editorials. Sam becomes angry and starts targeting Ikem. Chapter 6. Sam's regime intensifies oppression. Chris tries to defend Ikem, but Sam becomes suspicious of both. Chapter 7. A delegation from Abazon arrives to request water. Their struggle symbolizes neglected common citizens. Ikem sympathizes deeply with their cause. Chapter 8. Ikem delivers a powerful public speech advocating social change. The government sees it as rebellion. Chapter 9. Chris senses danger as Sam demands Ikem's dismissal. Chapter 10. Ikem is arrested on secret orders. Chapter 11. Ikem is killed, framed as a subversive threat, conveys brutality and insecurity of dictatorship. Chapter 12. Chris is accused of conspiracy and goes into hiding. He becomes a fugitive in his own country. Chapter 13. Chris reflects on friendship and loss. He accepts that silence helped tyranny grow. Chapter 14. Chris escapes to Bassa countryside. Meanwhile, Beatrice mounts Ikem and becomes a voice of resilience. Chapter 15. Chris tries to reach safety but is recognized. He is shot dead while protecting a young girl from harassment. Marks the destruction of the intellectual resistance. Chapter 16. Final chapter, Hope Through Women. A naming ceremony is held for Eliva and Ikem's baby, officiated by Beatrice. Symbolizes rebirth, continuity, and a new feminist direction. Key themes discussed: 1. Abuse of power. 2. Role of intellectuals. 3. Silence versus resistance. 4. Political corruption. 5. Women's leadership and survival. 6. Hope for future. Significance. Critics post-colonial African leadership failure. Shows that violence destroys everyone, ruler and critics alike. Ends with women as hope, not political elites. Achebe argues that a nation survives through its people, not its rulers.